Are you good, Will?
Yeah, I'll go.
Just do bar, yeah. And even just hold it at the top for 1 second, reset, breathe, focus on your core. And let's have a look at your program. Have you done this stuff though?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
You have?
Except not slide board.
Go on here. 40 kilos, I reckon these are about 40 machine. What have you been doing normally? Let's have a look at last week.
65.
Was that including the machine? Or 65 with the plates?
Actually, I put them in my double leg.
Yeah, okay.
I thought you stuck it in. I don't know what weight I'd do though.
It'd be some sort of calisthenics, Ninja Warrior-esque. Yeah, you're back. And then I just throw the ball to you and you catch. So, yeah. And throw over, yeah. Keep your hips up. That's it. 4 more. Catch and go overhead and throw back. Yep, and keep your hips up. Will, go back a bit further out and onto your shoulder blades. So your hips are, don't push the ball and back. Yeah, and let your head rest a bit more. Yeah. Smashed it, mate. Well done. Are recorded. So just for the athletes that miss it, we'll just have them recorded, and that way you can watch them again, or you can when you miss these Sundays, because they go every Sunday at 5 p.m. I go live with everyone that's on our program. If you can't attend, I send the Vimeo link in our Discord group. So those that are on the 2-week trial, you won't be in the Discord group. That's the only thing you don't have access to at the moment. That's something exclusive for paid members. So if you enjoy the program and these education sessions, you're more than welcome to join the online program after your 2-week trial. But for the athletes that are on the either online program or individualized program, these Zoom recordings will be in the Discord group, so you can find them there. Welcome to week 2. This is our second week. It's something that I did last year during the off-season, pre-season, where we do education sessions each week. It's the most important time to work on your athletic development. So I know it's a good time to focus on how you go about your strength training, how you go about your conditioning, but also how you live your life, and how you live your life massively impacts your preparation for football. So we'll spend a fair bit of time on those 3 areas: footy, strength and conditioning, and then the way you live. Last week, a bit of a recap, and for those that missed it, you can watch the recording, but essentially we talked about reflecting and working out what is the bottleneck to your football performance. So what we mean by that is what is the thing in your game that is preventing you from playing your best footy week to week. So that might be your sleep routine is inconsistent. So some days you wake up after a really poor night's sleep, and that affects your football. So sleep might be the bottleneck to your performance. For some, it might be your ability to repeat high intensity efforts. So your repeat speed is an issue. It's strong in the first half, but in the second half, you drop off and you're not able to stay at the standard, and therefore your performance takes a hit. For some, it might be concentration. So working on like mindfulness and concentration activities, like watching your football review and watching how you play, and whether your concentration is an area that you need to work on. So there's lots of areas that comes to football. It's why the game's so great, because it's so complex. So working on an area in this off season on how do you improve that problem area in your game. It's probably something that you don't love doing. It might be something that makes you feel anxious or nervous when you're doing that activity. Like if you don't like repeat speed, high intensity sessions, you might be most anxious doing those sessions, and sometimes they might get missed because of that. Or it might be the endurance, the volume-based running that you don't enjoy, or you really like playing, video games and that sort of thing. And that's what keeps you up at night, and that's what's affecting your sleep routine. So it might be things that are really hard to change, but you've identified that there are areas in your game that's preventing you from playing your best football week to week. So they're important, and that's what the exercise is about. And here at Prepare Like a Pro, we're not about making massive changes really quickly. It's identifying a problem and coming from yourself, from the athlete, that you've recognized this is an issue in my game. Do you want to work on it is the next question. So for some, it's like maybe football's not the be end all, and you're not necessarily that focused on getting better for next season, then you can keep doing that activity. But if I've identified it's a problem and you want to get better, then you want to start putting in a get better plan. And that's where you work with your coach. So if I'm your coach, I work with myself closely, and each month you have little targets that you can focus on each week that build and allow you to get better in that space. So then next season you're in a good routine and you're in a good space with that activity. And once you start getting some runs on the board, you tend to, one, you're in routine that works for you, but two, you may not be as nervous or anxious around that activity because you've found what works for you and you're getting a better result. So that's that side. Then we talked about sharpening your axe. So this is the thing that stands out from the rest. It's probably the reason why you play in your position. So it might be your strength, it might be your tactical knowledge, it could be your skill, it could be your speed, whatever it is. What's the reason that what's your strength? What is your axe? So identifying something that you're really, really good at, and you're better at it than your peers, but you're also probably better than your competition. So for those that want to get drafted, this will be the reason that you get drafted. For those that want to play at a high level, this is the reason that the coach will pick you in the senior team or the top team. So we don't want to focus only on the bottleneck, the weaknesses that are holding you back. We definitely want to put energy into those, but we want to put just as much energy. And as you get to a higher level, you want to put more energy in your strengths, because that's what's going to separate you from the rest. And not everyone will have those strengths. So by putting time and effort into those, you'll get bigger return because they're probably things that you're more natural at. So that was the focus of last week. We had this visual here where we're at the time of the year, particularly with lockdowns, it's been incredibly challenging to get into routine and to have a normal year. But we're at that time of the year now where we want to start climbing the mountain. So if we see the peak of the mountain is September footy, for those that are in finals right now, you're at the top of the mountain and you want to make the most of that period and enjoy the period, because it takes a lot of work to get there. For those where the season's finished, whether it be because of lockdown or just because you didn't play finals, we want to start climbing the mountain now. So there was a period for the last few weeks where you had some rest and you just rejuvenate mentally. You focus on some things that you don't have time for with the normal football season, like your hobbies and that sort of thing, or maybe other sports. Or it might just simply be catching up with people that you don't tend to see in the footy season because they don't play footy with you. So it's a good time to focus on other areas of your life and mentally switch off from football, because it is a long preseason and it's a long competitive season. And what that allows you to do is when the time comes next year and you are playing finals footy, you're loving the game, you're not burnt out because you had a good rest in the off season. So every phase of this mountain is important, and it allows you to get credit, good workouts, good training, but also mentally feel good at the right time of the year. And you hear that a lot in AFL about timing your run. And it's a really important element. We don't want to be focusing on the peak of the mountain right now and the things that are around when you're in finals, where you're focusing purely on preparation for that week. We're at the phase now where we want to build the foundations of your game, the bottom of the mountain, the thickest part. What are the basics and what's important to your game? And that's why understanding areas in your game that need work, that are holding you back, your bottleneck, and understanding what is your axe and having those two focuses down. So for those that did watch last week, either the recording or the live chat, have a think about your week and just get your journal out, whether it be your mobile phone using your notes or your training diary. If you haven't got a training diary, definitely recommend it. Just grab a piece of paper, whatever's around you, and a pen. Research shows by writing things down with handwriting, you're making a much stronger mental commitment to that task. So you're setting yourself up for success a lot more than writing in a computer or not writing at all. So writing things down is very powerful and can make a real difference. So I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds, have a bit of a reflect on either if you did week 1, how did you go with your bottleneck? Did you make any change? Did you do anything different with your habits? And if you did, write them down. If you didn't, write down why you didn't. Did you forget about it? Did you not set a target for the week? And then as well with your acts, what did you do to strengthen your acts? And if you didn't, write down some things of why you didn't make any actions last week to get better with your acts. For those that have just tuned in and that missed last week, start to think about and write down what you feel like your bottleneck was last year in preventing you to play your best football week after week. And after you've done that, write down what you think your weapon is. What's your axe? All right. If you have any questions, guys, just hit me up. We'll move into the focus for week 2 this week. So it's around the time of year when we are focusing for 2022. We know that testing is going to be coming up, whether it be your 2K time trial, your 3K time trial, your yo-yo, your 3-rep max bench press, 3-rep max box squat, whatever it might be. There's usually some testing coming up, and I wanted to discuss why we test as strength and conditioning coaches with footballers, and what's some of the value from an athlete's point of view in seeing your testing results, and that from where you understand why we do it, how you can take the information and make it relevant to yourself in your own athlete development. So here we've got a spider graph, and it's an athlete here is in the blue shape that you can see, and you can by the shape of it compared to his peers. Let's say he was a midfielder. We've got data on the average midfielder for his age in the standard of football he was playing. So let's say he was playing VFL football, and he's a mature age player. So he's in the adult age group and he's playing state football. So we'd compare his data to everyone that's in the same boat as him. So midfielder playing state level football. Compared to his position, his axe from an athlete development point of view is his strength. His bottleneck at the moment is his explosive power and his aerobic fitness. Okay, so it gives us this photograph because it's a nice, clean representation on areas that we want to work on from an objective point of view. So we may ask the athlete, this particular athlete, and we say, what's your bottleneck? Let's say his name's Matt. What's the area of your game from a physical point of view that you feel like you need to work on in this off season? And he may come out and say, oh, I feel like it's really hard for me to fend someone off. I always get tackled really easily. And then we would do the testing and we say, Matt, the objective data, the testing is saying you're bang on, mate. Your explosive power compared to your strength isn't where it needs to be relative to those at the same age as you playing the same standard of football. Now, he may not be aware that his aerobic fitness is also down compared to his peers. So that's where the objective data can help the subjective data, which is the athlete's opinion on his game. He may not also be aware that his strength, his best bench press in this case, and his box squat are stronger than his peers. Yeah, so he may have found that his axe was actually speed, but relative to his competition, he stands out stronger in the strength side of things. So sometimes the objective data and testing can build awareness around areas that you're doing well and areas that you need focus on that you weren't aware of in your game. More often than not, I've found, especially as you start to play a little bit longer in your career, the objective data, the testing, and the athlete's opinion, the subjective data, they seem to marry up. What the athlete feels they need to work on and how their strengths are, the data backs up. Okay, so you end up the relevance of testing is more just from a motivation point of view for that athlete, just to make sure that they're continually getting better and continually maintaining that level of athleticism for season after season. So that way the athletic side isn't the reason that they're not playing their best footy. But for a developing athlete, which no doubt a lot of you guys tuning in will be, this is an area where you can measure how you're going against your peers, against people that play in your position, and also for yourself to see areas of how well-rounded you are. Like if someone had a graph where you imagine the aerobic wasn't a triangle shape at all, it was completely in towards the zero, you could tell that there was a huge weakness in that person's game. And that's an area that we need to focus on a lot, because in football, you need to have all 5 of these things. You need to be aerobically fit to be able to run out the game. You need to be strong to be able to be good in the contested positions and hold your ground. You need to have vertical jump power for your first step and your aerial game. You need to have top end speed to chase tackles down and to break away from the congested areas, breakaway speed. And you need that explosive power for fending opposition off, as well as tackling and making sure that you're landing those tackles. So all these areas are really, really important, and a spider graph can be a good representation to see how you compare. What we want to try and do as an exercise this week is think about your future self. So here, your future self is more important than your present self. So I'm sure we've all been in this position before, where we're doing an activity that we know is fun at the time and it's easy at the time, but it's definitely going to pay detriment to our future self, i.e. we are eating some junk food, for example, and your goals are to try and lean up. You're trying to reduce your body fat and increase your muscle mass, and you're eating McDonald's, let's say. At the time, the McDonald's feels good, but later on, you know that your guts are going to be playing up. Your energy is going to be down. It may affect your sleep, whatever it might be, and of course, it's not congruent with your goals of trying to drop body fat. So, what we want to try and think about in terms of success and getting a good result with improving your bottleneck and improving your acts is thinking of those 2 areas when you're living your life outside of the club, because it's easy to do those 2 areas when you're at the club and you're at training because everyone's around you, it's seen. But it's the unseen, the stuff that you do at home with your friends and away from the footy club, that's the challenge, and that's where you can make a real difference towards your goals. So if you can commit to those 2 areas, the stuff that you wrote down, that you've identified and that you've identified you want to make change, think of those areas, your future self. And we want to have an 80-20 rule to this, because it's a little bit different when it's a team-based sport. You want to make sure that you're still having fun with your mates. So if it's a Friday night and the whole team's going out for burgers, you're probably going to have a burger with the whole team because you want to enjoy that team camaraderie. But if you have an option to eat at home and eat healthy food, and it's just a normal weeknight, and you want to have a burger with another mate, that's when you want to start to think about these things, because that's where the 80-20 rule comes in. What are you doing from Monday to Friday? And maybe on after the game on a Sunday, you let your hair down a little bit and you have what's called as a cheat meal, or you don't focus so much on your future self. You're more focused on just looking after yourself because you just played a really hard game and you had a really good week's preparation. So it's a bit of a reward for the discipline that you had for the week. And if you can get that 80-20 rule right over a long period of time, when you're consistent, you'll pay dividends. You'll get the results because majority of your actions are looking after your future self. What most athletes will do, especially developing athletes, while they're working this stuff out and learning, and they're trying to make a lot of change at once, they'll shift towards just looking after their present self, either because they're not aware that that's a problem, so they don't know that Macca's is bad for them, and that's my role and the coach's role to help educate you guys that we don't want to be eating Macca's. We want to be eating real food that's comes from organic sources when you can. It's vegetables, lots of color, fruit, animal products. It's well sourced from local products like a farm if you can. So quality food that's well sourced from and is going to feed your body with energy and fuel your training, opposed to takeaway food that is going to take away from your body's fuel and make you feel worse than feel better. And it's the same with sleep. When you're watching a late night show and it's a weeknight and it's midnight, you've just missed 2 hours of your peak sleep for your body to be able to get best recovery, optimal recovery. So if you wanted to look after your future self, the harder thing to do, but the better thing for your future self would be to try and get to sleep around 10 o'clock. So you're getting that optimal sleep window for optimal recovery and optimal growth of muscle mass and athleticism. So that's a little bit of a takeaways message. If more often than not, if you can stick to thinking of yourself 80% of the time with your training, getting those sessions in, making sure you're training with good intent. You're not just going through the motions, but you've got intent for that football drill or intent for that lift in the gym and intent for that running block. And you do it long enough, that's when you'll start to see the results come through. All right. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. And it's a good thing to have it front of mind at this time of year, because we want to be crediting getting money in the bank with these things, the nutrition, the sleep, looking after yourself from a mental point of view, and making sure you're getting good training in with your strength and your conditioning. Yell out if you've got any questions on that topic. Hopefully it's a simple one. And what I want you to try and do is think about a moment where you decided to look after your present self over your future self. What springs out to mind? Just write it down. Take note of it. Example for me is an easy one. Like last night, I was watching the news and then started flicking on my phone and was just looking at Instagram, Facebook, and your different socials, and found myself doing that for 30 minutes rather than just winding down and going to sleep. So that's something I can note down. So think of something where at the time that was just looking after my present self. My future self, if I wanted to look after my future self, I should have started to clean my teeth, started to wind down and go straight to bed rather than spending an extra 30 minutes on that sort of activity. So have a think to yourself, 30 seconds, guys. Take note of a time where you looked after your present self and what you could have done differently to look after your future self. And then lastly, with today's one, on that one that you wrote down, it's probably one that you found yourself, you've done that a few times recently. So it's starting to become a bit of a habit because it's front of mind. It's something that just sprang to your mind pretty quickly. So it's probably something you've done before. Do you want to make a change in that space? And if the answer is yes, note down how would you do that differently? And what are you going to do next time? And by writing that down, that simple action, you'll have awareness next time you're slipping into that habit, and practice looking after your future self. And what you'll find over the next couple of weeks is it won't even become a conscious thought anymore. You'll be already actioning it. It'll become a habit. And that's when we start to get in a good space with these things. So it's not easy to change habits. It starts with identifying a problem. Do you want to make change to that problem? And then little small wins along the way, little weekly changes along the way will start to shift that habit. And before you know it, it's something that's starting to happen automatically. You've changed the habit into a new habit. And that new habit is looking after your future self, which is going to make you better. All right, guys, that's the presentation for this week. If you've got any questions, just unmute yourself and yell out. In terms of exciting things that are coming up this week, we've got Dylan Shield. He's confirmed he's coming on, which I know a couple of members wanted to see him on the podcast. I was lucky enough to meet him with the ball magnet shoot that we did at the gym that I work at in Paran. So yeah, looking forward to catching up with Dylan. As soon as the time's confirmed, I'll send the link in the Discord group. And if any of you guys listening to this that are members, either academy, online program, or individualized program, want to jump on, I'll have up to 4 members that can come on and co-host with me for that live chat and ask Dylan a few questions, or anything that you want to find out about his game, but also maybe some tips and tricks that you can help to your own personal journey. So that's exciting, and I'll lock in a time with him in the next couple of weeks. Communication, for those that have just jumped on the program and you're new to Team Builder, it has a messenger on there. There's also a team feed, so I'll do announcements like these Zoom chats, any new presentations that I've done, any programming things or anything, or any general questions, just direct message me or comment in the feed, and that's the best place to contact me or any of the coaches. On Instagram and Facebook, I actually don't manage those two. Our marketing assistant does that. So if you want to ask me a question, Team Builder is the best place to ask me a question. And welcome to those that are on the 2-week trial. If there's any of our current members that want their friends to jump on our program and have a 2-week trial, just let me know, pass on my email address. The offer does close Sunday night, so tonight. But for any of our current members, I'm more than happy to open that up, and I'll hook them up onto Team Builder personally. So just let me know if you've got any friends, guys, and you want them to trial the program. I can see something's come through the chat, so I'll just share the. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate the positive feedback, mate. That's it from me, guys. If you've got any questions, yell out. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, this is week 2, and I'll do this every Sunday at 5 p.m. Present on a topic, reflect on last week, and it's also an opportunity for you to send some questions through to me if you have any. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Cheers, Will.
Hey, Jack.
Yo.
Have you tried getting Tom Highmore on there?
Hi, I'm Jack McLean, an AFL experienced strength and conditioning coach, and I want to introduce you to Prepare Like a Pro online. This is more than just an online program. This is a virtual high-performance program at its finest. Not only are you getting a structured strength and conditioning program, you're getting customized load selections and detailed video tutorials. So we're giving you guidance on exactly how much to lift, how fast to run, and how to perform the movement. You'll be able to access your training program and upload your loads during workouts through our app on your phone. Our exclusive Facebook group gives you the opportunity to connect with a community of like-minded athletes and to continue to educate yourself about cutting-edge research and elite techniques for performance with our regular posts and discussion forums. The programs are specific with seasonal timing, playing position, and age with your goal in mind. For example, an under-13s female midfielder wanting to gain critical mass would follow a very different program to an under-19s male tall forward wanting to maintain weight. The Prepare Like a Pro online program is an end-to-end coaching service without the big price tag. Sign up today to attack your goals and be the fastest, strongest and most resilient version of you on game day. Fill out the Inquire Now page to speak with Jack about finding the right program for you.